post-fight review. Werner Voss versus James McCudden and his mates. The day is the 23rd of September 1917, and it's going to be the most epic clash of the First World War, and a tragic day for myself because Werner Voss was always my favourite pilot growing up, playing Dawn Patrol. You know, I reenacted this battle many times, and sadly on the computer I could actually beat James McCudden's squadron, but in real life you can't beat 8 very good pilots, either aces or soon to be aces. But anyway, let's just take things back. Who is Werner Voss? Okay, he comes from a middle class family. He's not aristocratic like Richthofen, but they've got money. They have a hunting lodge and that kind of stuff. His family are from Krefeld in northwest Germany, not far from the border of France. And he's very patriotic and somewhat militaristic, even in his youth. I'm not aware that he was a hunter like Richthofen. I'm not aware that he would, train with a rifle and shoot things and stuff. But what I do know, he was very mechanically minded. So, for example, on his 16th birthday, he was given a motorcycle, which was a big thing back then. In, well, what year would it have been? 1914, I believe. Maybe my maths is wrong there. But whatever, he got a motorcycle. And indeed, I'll tell a little bit more about that in the future. But let's go on. So he's schooled at the local gymnasium. Then he goes on to a kind of military training academy. Interestingly, though, they don't particularly want him. Although he's obviously smart and stuff, he's got flat feet. And, that's a problem, apparently. It's like the main reason why British people were not allowed in the army in the early days of signing up was bad teeth. That was the biggest cause, because you can't eat, these army dog biscuits with bad, with bad teeth. But anyway, yeah. So he was rejected to some extent because he had flat feet, and also, I can't remember. They just thought he was a little bit of a weakling, and he is, to be fair. If you look at the dude, take a moment, go on Google Images, have a look at Werner Voss. He looks like a little weedy nerd, the type of person who would be bullied in school by big, better-looking people and stuff. But I tell you, this nerd is one not to be messed with when he's in a plane. He looks weak, he looks like a nerd, but he was the bravest German that I've come across. Anyway, so we move on. So initially, he's he goes into the Hussars. He's training, riding horses and stuff like that. But he really wants to fly. The same as Richthofen, very similar parts to the Richthofen, fighting in the east. The difference was, actually, we should just say, Werner Voss signed up when he was underage. He was only 17 when he was signed up. Somehow he managed it. But anyway, so and he gets promoted very rapidly, despite his flat feet and somewhat feminine appearance. He's zooming up the ranks. But he really wants to fly. And so he does. About mid-1916, I'm not aware if he paid himself, but he certainly trained to fly in his own city of Krefeld. So I'm just wondering, did the Germans have a training school there, or did he privately pay to do the training? My suspicion is he may have privately paid, much as Ernst Udet did, because he wanted to fly. And many pilots for both wars did this. But I don't know about that. But either way, he gets trained sort of early to mid 1916. He's there, but initially they won't let him be a pilot. They make him an observer. And he had to, it's kind of weird, to get your pilot's wings in the German Air Force at the time, the Luftwaffenkrieg, wherever, you had to actually fly and show that you could fly in combat before they'd officially call you a pilot. And so he's done several combat patrols before he's even made a pilot, which seems kind of weird, but that's how it was. So, but he's not shot down anything. He's initially observer, maybe piloting some larger aircraft, as observation aircraft. But let's cut to the chase now. So, November 1916, Werner Voss meets Manfred von Richthofen. Now, Richthofen is aristocratic, and if you listen to my video on him, I don't think he was a very likeable guy. I don't think you would sit down and have a beer with Richthofen. Werner Voss, different matter. Seems like he's a nice guy. For example, all the time that he's, in his squadron, he's working with the mechanics. Yeah, even though he's an officer and they're just, underlings working on his plane, he just, he gets there, gets his hands dirty. He helps with everything with the plane because he's mechanically minded. He enjoys it. So November he meets Richthofen, and they form a very strong friendship, and indeed they will go on leave together and stuff, and stay at one another's houses and these kinds of things, because obviously Kaifelt is much nearer the front than Breslau or whatever, was it Schwerin, wherever Richthofen was living at the time. Werner Foss's house is nearer, so they would often go there, and they used to share the hunting lodge and stuff like that. And they get this competition, and Richthofen is famously known to have said that my only real competitor is Werner Foss, because suddenly he just starts racking up the kills ridiculously fast. And so he gets 24 kills, and that's February 1917. He's got about 24 kills. And he gets awarded the Blue Max pour le Mérite, the highest medal for bravery in Germany. So I guess it's the equivalent to their... well, it's not quite equivalent to the Victoria Cross, I guess, because you can't just build up a few kills and get the Victoria Cross. Whereas it seemed in Germany, if you got a certain number of kills, it kept on being increased as the races got higher, but you had to build a certain number of kills to get your Blue Max. Whatever. He gets his Blue Max. He has to take a mandatory month's leave, because that's the reward for getting a Blue Max. So he misses bloody April, which is April 1917. And that was when, as Trenchard had warned 6 months before, unless we get some better aircraft, we are going to be overpowered by the Germans in the air, because their aircraft are just getting better and we're not. And that was the Battle of Arras, the assault sort of northern France toward Artois. It was a very stellar offensive, boom boom, and somewhat successful, limited success. But in terms of the air, it was called Bloody April for a reason. I think Richthofen shot down like 11 or 12 just during that period. And Werner Foss misses it because he's on his mandatory leave. But anyhow, comes back, starts racking up the kills. Now, the one thing I will say about him, I said he's a nice guy, and I think he probably was. But he was great with all his under officers, privates, whatever. He wasn't so good with superior officers when he knew he was smarter and better than they were. And so he was somewhat insubordinate, and it gets him transferred around a little bit, because he keeps dissing his superior officers when they're not as talented as him. But that's fair enough, that's understandable. The one thing I can't agree with, and this may not be true, but this indeed is what has been claimed, there were 2 occasions where he shot down a British machine over German lines, and he strafed the machine on the ground, attempting to kill the pilots, basically, or the pilot and the observer. There are 2 accusations of that. However, the fact that they lived to make the accusation proves that, maybe he was just having a laugh and just, machine gunning nearby them or something to make sure they surrendered. But it's just a little taint, isn't it? A little taint. But then again, there's also reports of one of his early victories. The pilot came down, was injured, and he visited him in hospital a couple of times. And pilots would very often do this. They would very often visit people they've shot down, and I can imagine that, there was a mutual respect there. So, Werner Foss, he's aggressive. That is the one thing. That was why he was moved for insubordination, because he was sending messages up the chain behind his squadron leader's back saying, our squadron leader's not aggressive enough. He wants to be aggressive. But now we come to our black day, our terrible day, the 23rd of September, 1917. He's just had his brothers visit, Max 16, Otto 19. At this point, Foss is 20 years old. They've visited, and they've noted that Werner Foss is looking absolutely haggard. The guy's exhausted, and this happened again and again to our pilots, to their pilots, time and again. They were just spent. They were exhausted. They needed a break. They were battle fatigued, everything else. And you make bad decisions when you're battle fatigued. And that's what he's going to unfortunately do. So they take a final photograph, which you can find if you look for it, the Foss brothers. And then it comes about 6 o'clock that evening. I'm not sure if that's German time or English time, but we'll say 6 o'clock anyway, about tea time. And he says to his brothers, look, mates, I've got to go on patrol now. and he goes out on patrol. Around the same time, James McCudden's, I think it's 56 Squadron, got something like 8 planes in the air, all of them talented pilots. They're taking off as well, and they're all around sort of the Flanders area. It's because this, don't forget, the ongoing war is the Battle of Passchendaele, or we should call it the Third Ypres, because Passchendaele is just a small part of the Third Ypres. But we're talking about this big offensive in Belgium that was exceptionally good until it ultimately bogged down because the artillery and so on couldn't catch up. Won't go into that. So we're talking about Belgium. And they take off. McCudden's lot take off. Initially, Werner Voss has some success. He sees some reconnaissance planes, blasts at them. I think he didn't get credit for the kill, but it would appear he drove them back, or drove them down. But the problem is, he is flying an experimental Fokker triplane. Now, his other companions were flying Albatros D2s, D3s, Pfalzes, not entirely sure, but his Fokker triplane was better than theirs. And because he's something of a maverick, he loves lone patrolling, and he knows that he's better than everyone else in the sky, he flies on ahead. He leaves behind his 2 kind of wingmen, almost. And he goes on ahead. And anyway, he's spotted by McCudden's squadron. And McCudden's squadron are extremely good. Indeed, Manfred von Richthofen perpetuated the myth, it wasn't true, that in fact that squadron was the anti-Richthofen squadron, and that they would deliberately be moved around the front to combat the flying circus to try and kill Richthofen. And that was apparently the belief amongst the German pilots, that this was the anti-Richthofen squadron, 56 squadron. But it wasn't. But it did have a best ace in it at this time, James McCudden. They form a box around Werner Voss. Werner Voss, he could still run. His plane's far more manoeuvrable than the British SE-5As. It's more heavily armed. It can climb faster, but its top speed is less. But I believe he could have climbed or dropped. There apparently was a big, cloudy, overcast day, low cloud. I'm sure, had he wanted to, he could easily have dropped into the cloud and zoomed off. But of course he didn't, because he's Werner Voss, the best pilot in the world. So he goes into combat alone against 8 enemy planes. 8. And he starts off the combat. And they can't hit him. They form this sort of box above and below him, trying to surround him, because they want him trapped. They want to shoot him down. Finally, one of his mates catches up and is immediately shot down. So he's alone again. He's doing all kinds of manoeuvres, because when you have a triplane, like the Fokker triplane, in fact it was even a quad plane, because the undercarriage has a wing on it as well, so it's actually four planes. As you can imagine, it's incredibly manoeuvrable, and if you throw it into the wind, imagine all the resistance from all those wings. You can literally turn it on a sixpence. And apparently he was doing Immelmann turns, but doing them flat. So whereas an Immelmann turn, you go up, slow the aircraft down, kick the rudder and flip it round, he was somehow doing them flat. And McCudden commented on this in his diary. He was doing these flat spins. So somehow he was flying straight and then kicking the rudder, doing whatever he did with the stick. I'm not a World War pilot, so I don't know what he did. But somehow he managed to spin the thing around and be going the other way. So you think he's on your tail. You think you're on his tail, rather, and the next minute he's shooting you in the face. This was an incredible pilot, and he was using every ounce of manoeuvrability of this triplane. Obviously, we don't have the blow-by-blow account as we would for a boxing match, but let me just say this much. He puts bullets through all 8 machines combating him. Every single person that attacked him, he put bullets through their machine. 2 or 3 of them had to retire from the battle because they'd been so badly damaged. None of them crashed, but he put bullets through all of them. And here we come to the role of Rhys Davis, who, great guy, will go on to become an ace, but I don't like him today because he kills my favourite pilot. So we're getting towards the end. It's gone on for about 10 minutes now, this fighting between Voss and 8, of McCudden's lot, including McCudden himself. McCudden was known, we should just say, he was known for letting his younger pilots, or less experienced pilots, do the killing. He was quite happy for them to, because it's a big thing to go from no kills to 1 kill, so he was quite happy to let stand off, watch through the side, protect them, and let them do the actual killing. So could McCudden have swooped in and immediately killed Voss? I don't think so. I really don't. I think on this occasion they were all just trying to get him, and they were struggling like hell because he was so good. At one point, they think he's going to flee. He turns, he looks like he's going to leave the battle, dive into the cloud or whatever, and then he doesn't. He spins again, and he goes straight, just very much like Lothar von Richthofen did famously against Our Bull, goes straight at him. And unfortunately now, one of the other pilots, we don't know which one, because they're all having a shot at this little Fokker, and that's not being rude, that's what the plane was. They're all having a shot at him. He's hit by something, clearly. He is wounded, because for the first time in 10 minutes, there's no more aerobatics. Voss just flies straight and level. And here's where Rhys Davis comes in that I mentioned before. He's been out the battle somewhat to the side because he needs to change the ammunition drum on his I've forgot the name. Lewis gun. Deary me, where did that go? Yeah, so a Lewis gun drum. It has either 47 rounds in it or 97 if it's a double one, and I've got no idea what Rhys Davis is carrying. But either way, he ducked out the battle for a minute to replace his Lewis gun. He comes back in, presumably from the side, and Voss doesn't see him. And he rakes him with Lewis gun fire across the bows, completely. He just took him from the flanks. You know, he enfiladed him as that's what you do. That's how you take out anybody. Enfilading is always best. Went sideways on him like a crab. And yeah, so Voss flies straight and level. And then Rhys Davis, it may not have been Rhys Davis that did the initial, it's a little unclear because they were having a shot, but we know certainly Rhys Davis came in, raked him from the side, and then when he sees that his opponent is wounded, rather than, could they have sportingly tried to get him to fly back to British lines? I don't know, I don't think they did that. It was they're fighting for their lives, aren't they? But it is kind of sad that he was there, just, you know, flying straight and level. Rhys Davis comes behind him and obviously just empties all his ammunition straight into him. And he, you know, Voss goes down. He falls in no man's land, slightly toward the British side, I believe. But as far as I can tell, his body was never recovered because of its position. So I don't believe we can go and, you know, ponder his life and his death above his grave or anything like that. Or maybe pray for him or whatever, because we can't do that at his graveside. But sad thing, 20-year-old, lovely family, incredibly talented man. And yeah, just another one of the many extremely talented people, brilliant people, and someone who, you know, I've always admired because, you know, he looked like a little bit of a nerd, looked a little bit of a weakling, but he went and fought. I've no doubt that he knew it was McCudden's squadron. I'm sure he would have known it because they knew they were opposing them there. And he didn't give a damn that he had no friends with him. He literally just bored into the fray and he put bullets through 8 enemy machines. And then, I tell you what, they went home after that, McCudden's lot, and they all had a very stiff brandy. And they all were saying to one another, flipping your heck, he was good. God, you know, we're lucky to have got out of this one, you know. Damn, I got 10 holes in my machine. Oh, I've got 5. I got 15. You know, they're all counting their losses, and the aircraft fitters are like trying to patch little holes in their planes, and they're all saying, who the hell was this guy? They're speculating maybe it was Richthofen. They don't really know. They think it might have been Richthofen because he was so good. Actually, Voss was a far better pilot than Richthofen. Richthofen was a brilliant shot. And very tactically astute, having learned from Bolke. It's only the next day they realise they've killed the famous Werner Voss, who at that point had 48 victories. And if you want to know the number of men that he's brought down, we have to double that pretty much, because obviously most were reconnaissance planes, although he would shoot down anything. So that is the tragic demise of Werner Voss. It's sad, but you know, yeah, you know, live by the sword, die by the sword, and this man lived by his sword too, right? What a man. Werner Voss.